Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And I mean to tell you, there are some people who get to have an adventure of their lifetime, and they're still in the middle of it. And we have one of those here, and her name is Melody, and her last name is Horrill. Is that right?
Horrill. Not bad, Kevin. Not bad.
Close. Horrill. In any event, Melody is an author. She was a television personality. She is a naturalist. She is somebody that I really would love to do what she has done in the past. But first, she's been on CNN. She's was the weather person. She's been doing things for a long time. But she's young still, so I don't know how that all works. But she's a beautiful young lady, and she is also has worked with some of the really cool people, including Jane Goodall. And we're going to talk about all of that. But Melody, thank you for being here. How are you?
Oh, it's a total pleasure, Kevin. And that was a fantastic intro. Wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Well, and I will tell you that I was talking with somebody. I said, I get to talk to somebody who knows a lot about dolphins. She said, really? Oh, goodness gracious. I love dolphins. I mean, everybody does, but you have taken it really upon and you've written a couple of books about them. And you've worked with Jane Goodall in the work that she does with the Jane Goodall Institute. You really have had quite the run, haven't you?
I have. I've been very fortunate, and I've loved everything I've done. I've had some wonderful opportunities, and I'm really grateful for those, Kevin. When I first became involved with dolphins was back at university, actually, and I put my hand up to volunteer. And I should say I'm from Melbourne, Australia, but I was going to university in my hometown of Adelaide, South Australia. And I put my hand up to volunteer for a dolphin research project. And it's there that I met a wild, solitary, injured dolphin who completely changed my life. That's where the journey began.
Is that a dolphin called Jack, or is that the dolphin who saved me?
One and the same. A dolphin called Jock.
Jock, sorry.
Jock was the dolphin's name. And a couple of years ago, I finally wrote my memoir after realizing that the dolphin population was in trouble. So I spilled the beans on my own life and what kind of impact this dolphin had on my life. And that book was published overseas in Northern America and across Europe under the new title of The Dolphin Who Saved Me. So it's the same book, different title.
Now, okay, all bite. So how did he save you?
Well, I came from a household that was racked by domestic violence, really. My mother and father had a very violent relationship, and I won't go into the ins and outs of it, but he ended up in jail, and I had to testify against him because one day after we'd left, my mother and I had left the family home for good, when I was quite young, he stalked us and found out where we were living and attacked her in front of me, and it was pretty bad. I was the only witness to that, and he was charged and sent to jail for it. And my life sort of took a bit of a downward spiral. I turned to partying and I tried to forget it all. And I tried it was very hard for me to forgive my father, actually. And then when he came out of jail, he took his life. And, I didn't know really what to do with all of that, to be honest. I realized that I had to make a choice, that I didn't want to be the sum total of my past. My father always told me that I was never going to make anything of my life, and I was determined to prove him wrong. So I went back and finished my high schooling, went to university, and to the outside world, I was fairly outgoing. I had it together, but really inside, I was still struggling with a lot of unresolved issues, shall we say. So when I met Jock, the first time I saw him, he was one solitary dolphin, just circling this boat around and around. He had a very badly deformed dorsal fin, and he'd been speared. He had spear marks, scars all over him. And he was unlike any of the other dolphins in that he was completely by himself. He wasn't socializing with the other dolphins. And there was something about him that really reflected my own loneliness, how I felt about my own life. And his external scars really reflected my internal ones in many ways. So over the next 3 years, and this is a completely wild dolphin, not trained, not lured, there was every interaction we had this, and it wasn't just me, there were other research assistants involved, had with this dolphin where it was completely on his terms, only on his terms and when he wanted to. And for the next 3 years, I became very good friends with this dolphin. His name is Jock. And over time, I got to know him as an individual, and I got to understand that actually we weren't that different. He trusted me despite the fact that my own species had inflicted so much pain on him. And that taught me a lot about forgiveness and living with my own scars and the importance of acceptance. And his friendship wasn't conditional, like so many relationships I sort of experienced in my life. This one with Jock had zero strings attached. He accepted me unconditionally. And so we developed this trust, and in many ways, he helped me realize I was okay and I was worthy to be around. I was actually good enough and I was worthy of his acceptance. And I really rediscovered the importance of joy and living in the moment with him. Rather than focusing on my past, I chose to focus on my present. And this friendship that I had with Jock was completely extraordinary. When he eventually, we lured him out to see other dolphins, eventually lured him out of his comfort zone, his little part of the river that he was living. He taught me a lot about bravery because he ventured out of the part of the river where he was comfortable that he had never left. And I realized that I too had to venture out of my comfort zone and face the world in a different way. So meeting him really also set me on a path that I would never have found otherwise. I would never have gotten onto that path without Jock and the friendship that I had with him. And it was just a remarkable experience. And he taught me how to trust again, really, if I just want to put it down to something. It was that he completely changed my life.
That is a wonderful story. Thank you.
Pleasure. It's a true story. True story.
And now I'd like to talk a little bit about, or a lot about dolphins today, because there's so much that I don't know. When we went to Hawaii, as an example, we were on a boat, and it was an engine boat, and we were going fairly fast, but these dolphins were in the waves, and it was like they were playing tag with us, and we're having a really wonderful time. I know, and I think we as a group of people, I don't think that we know enough about them, because the one but Jock became not only a really good, and it wasn't like a dog relationship that you
No.
might have. This was like a equal type relationship. Would that be fair?
That's right. Yeah, we never fed or enticed him. It was purely on he was completely wild. This was not a trained dolphin in a tank. And let me say, I really don't agree with that. He was completely wild, and he was lonely. Didn't know how to interact with other dolphins. We don't know why, whether that was because he was orphaned when he was young, or we just don't know why. But there are solitary dolphins around the world that don't interact with their own species. And so he turned to us, really. And I think perhaps we filled a niche in his life as well. And Jock, when I was in the water with Jock, it was extraordinary how similar we were. I mean, he would roll onto his back, and he had this eggshell coloured tummy, and you'd see the veins going just under the skin. And, you know, at that moment, I realised that we're just two mammals. He's a ocean-dwelling mammal. I'm a land-dwelling mammal. We're still two sentient beings enjoying one another's company. And it was that kind of relationship. And he, incredibly intelligent, incredibly mischievous, loved to play. And he seemed to enjoy my company as much as I enjoyed his. Now, I can't speak for him, obviously, but there was a no strings attached relationship. That we weren't with him. No.
Well, it's fun because even though he could not verbalize what he was feeling, he acted it out. I would think,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. I mean, that's how you can tell with animals, though, right? Isn't it? With emotions, is that they can't tell us, but they can show us.
It's really is remarkable. I mean, and thank you, number one, for writing the book. Thank you, number two, for having the experience with Jock, and number three, I'm so sorry that you had these challenges that you had growing up and with your father and stuff, and but now because of Jock and the help, you've moved on to create some wonderful things, and congratulations for who you are.
Thank you, Kevin. In many ways, I'm grateful for my the way I grew up, because I tell you, you learn to appreciate things more and the great things that happen in life so much more when you have experienced the bad stuff, when you've gone through the adversity. If it was all rainbows and unicorns, you'd never really appreciate the good stuff when it happens. So that's the way I see it. And it has actually made me a much stronger individual. And I think I'm more resilient because of it. And I'd like to think I'm a lot more compassionate because of it as well.
You know, I firmly believe that all of our experiences, we are the sum total of all of our experiences, and we have them, both the good and the challenging ones, so that we can become who we really are. And and you're right, if it's just lollipops and kitten tails or whatever, we never would learn the things that matter, that can give us a better understanding of who we are, who other people are, and stuff. So the total, and I met a lot of people that have had horrific experiences growing up, and most of them, to that I talk to anyway, will say, it was tough, it was hard, but looking back on it, I'm glad that it happened, because had it not happened, I wouldn't be who I am today. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, totally agree with that. Yeah, I wouldn't have taken the path that I'd taken. I'd never have met Jock. I never had the opportunity to go and talk to groups of people as I do here about my own background and share my story, which I hope helps others. And if there's one thing that I'd like to say to people is that, don't let your past define your future. Your past never defines your future.
And nor let it, because if you do, then you get stuck in it, and there's nothing you can do about your past.
That's exactly right. And, we've all got choices. We all make choices. And, life is difficult. Life can be tough. But, for me, it was about finding that that spark of passion, that thing that ignited me and really made me want to just move on and explore the world and move on from that past and redefine myself. That doesn't mean that I still didn't have that nagging little voice in my head, even when I was working in television. You know, my dad's voice saying, well, you can't possibly do this. You know, you're not good enough to do it. Well, sure, that voice may well be there, but I just chose not to listen to it anymore.
You succeeded where other people said, "Oh, now, Melody, you know that you got to be really talented to get on TV, you know, and I just don't know that you." And you said, "You know, love you, but you know, screw you. I'm going to go do this."
Basically, and it wasn't an easy time in TV because I didn't really fit the usual television mold in many ways, in that, you know, I ended up in television as a result of my work with the dolphins, not because it was something I actually intended to do. And I wanted to stay in TV because I loved telling stories about the environment, about animals, about dolphins. That was my round. That was my thing. So that's what really drove me, not the you know, the so-called glitz and glamour of it and being invited to all the fancy stuff. No, I wanted to tell stories, and that was it. And not everyone really got that. Some people just didn't get that.
No, that is so true. And you know what really, and you were actually really very fortunate, because not only did you have the talent, you had the background, you were, you know, in your work with dolphins and being a naturalist and what you do, but you're also a very pretty woman. And I would love to be able to say, and I'm going to ask your thoughts. You're laughing. Stop it. Stop it. Just stop it. Because you're a very pretty woman. And but if you were not, do you think that, this is something that we should change about society, but if you were not, say, do you think that you would have had the opportunities you had in television?
It's interesting, isn't it? You see, I don't consider myself to be particularly pretty, but thank you. I always thought I was just acceptable, and you know, I was lucky to have a great makeup artist in TV. But let me answer your question.
Hold on just a second, because you cannot compare yourself to some of the people that I see that are anchors, females specifically. You got a bunch of old guys and you got this beautiful woman. You can't compare yourself to them because they're not real anyway.
Yeah, that's very true. But I tend to agree with you, Kevin. I think that, I mean, TV is a visual medium, right? So there was aspects of that, I'm sure. And it can be an industry which is wonderful because you can have that audio visual aspect to storytelling. I mean, there's nothing like it. It's remarkable. And I was really lucky I did 4 documentaries all in all during my time in TV. And one of them was actually about Jock, the dolphin. And to have those opportunities was remarkable. But there had to be that balance between being able to have that talent and I guess look okay. But
Stop it. You stop that. I'm not going to let you get away with that. You stop that. You are a very pretty woman, and you're very beautiful, and both inside and out. So there. You're going to have to take my word for it.
It's very kind. Thank you, Kevin. But yes, I mean, I suspect that it didn't hurt, put it that way. And, you know, along the TV journey, there was quite a bit of emphasis put on, you know, what clothes you wore and how you looked and making sure that your hair was in place and that kind of stuff. But again, that wasn't what really drove me. What really drove me was the deeper stuff. telling of the stories, the ability to connect with an audience, the learning of the craft. So I was a bit of a fish out of water in some respect.
It was an important thing that you did, and between your writings and the documentaries and your work with Dr. Goodall and everything that you've done, it's really important. By the way, we're talking with Melody
Horrill.
I, Horrill.
There
I
you go.
I don't I didn't want to screw up your last name. I'm famous for it. I apologize. But Melody Horrill, and she is with us, and we need to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to talk more about her work with dolphins, and specifically, I want to know when she and Jock would look at each other in the eye. What did she see? We'll be right back.
You're listening to Positive Talk Radio. We're going to take a short break to tell you audio and music creators about our commercial affiliate, Lyric Vids, specializing in creating amazing and engaging lyric videos. Are you looking to promote your videos in the most engaging way, but you don't have an animator or an editor? Whether you're an artist, musician, or business with a message to share, our lyric videos are designed to hook viewers and amplify your reach. Go to positivetalkradio.net/lyric vids. That's positivetalkradio.net/LYRICVIDS now to get started. Welcome back to Positive Talk Radio. We hope you enjoyed learning about our affiliate Lyric Vids, who specialize in creating captivating animated lyric videos. Now let's get back to the show.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Obviously, my name is Kevin McDonald, and it's nice for everybody to be here. We've got a great show for you today. We're talking about dolphins, and dolphins are, I think, number one, there's some of the coolest looking animals on the planet, and they're also, I think, they're highly intelligent. But we have a guest here who's worked a lot with them. Her name is Melody, and you can go to a dolphin called Jock, which is now republished as The Dolphin Who Saved Me. And you can go to Amazon. Go to our website and pick it up there if you can. Can they pick it up at your website?
They can pick it up anywhere. If you just type it in, The Dolphin Who Saved Me, it's available pretty much anywhere around the US, internationally.
I'm willing to bet that there was a moment in time when you were in the water with Jock and he looked at you and you looked at him in the eye. What did you see?
Yeah, there are a few of those moments, actually. Intelligence, curiosity, and there's a twinkle. And it was like he knew that I was a visitor to his world, really, because, as a human, I'm not nearly as graceful and agile in the water as he is as a dolphin. And I think he knew that, obviously. And there were lots of times when, we'd be interacting and he'd be very gentle and very, very careful. There was one particular time I remember, if I could just share this with you.
Please.
When we're in the backwaters of this particular river system, and it was reasonably, I guess water was up to my chest, and I had my feet on the ocean floor, on the river floor, as I was fiddling with my snorkel and mask, and I felt something under my feet, under my soles of my feet, and I saw these air bubbles rising from the depths, and I thought, what is that? And of course, I didn't realise that Jock was with us at that point, but he was. He was underneath, on the floor of the river, sort of ferreting away at the soles of my feet. And I looked up at Mike, who is a researcher who was sitting in the boat watching all of this, and I said, "That's Jock. What's he doing?" And he said, "Well, Mello," that was my nickname. He said, "He's trying to get you up off the ocean floor because dead things sink to the ocean floor. So he thinks you're in trouble. And at that moment, I was so overcome with gratitude for this dolphin who was trying to get my feet off the bottom of the ocean floor because he thought I was in trouble. And, you know, it was such an emotional moment for me. He cared about my welfare.
And I could just imagine from his perspective, because he didn't see your life on, on Earth and when you were on the ground. He just saw your life in the water and goes, and I could just see him going, "Oh, that poor thing. She's so handicapped."
And she's such a terrible swimmer.
That's
She's so slow.
I mean, like, you're slow, you can't breathe, you can't hold your breath for very long. You got, kid, you got a lot of problems. I better protect you.
Exactly. And, you haven't sonar'd me back.
It's like, not only is she's deaf and dumb and handicapped to boot.
Yeah. This Jock enjoyed, there's nothing weirder than having a dolphin, the feeling of a dolphin sonar on you. When I first jumped into the water with Jock, he used his sonar to sort of check out what I was, basically, and you can feel it go through the insides of you. It's a very strange sensation, very otherworldly, really.
So it is. I never knew that. That is fascinating to me, because that is the energy that he was emitting towards you. That
Sound wave.
Him.
It's a sound wave. It's a way that dolphins and whales can see. They use echolocation. And I do believe that's actually perhaps where sonar originally was developed from. And they use it, and they get pictures bounced back from the sound waves. And they get an idea of the object in front of them. That is
so cool. So, but they've got eyes.
Yes, they do.
But this gives them a much bigger reach of reality.
Well, I guess like fishing, isn't it? If you're a fisher person, you can see fish in the water, but you go out in your boat, you use sonar, you can see them underwater, can't you? So I guess it's similar to that, really. Helps them hunt prey and navigate their environment. I mean, the ocean can be pretty murky.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Pretty rough.
I have to tell you, I had a bad experience on the ocean not too long ago. And I share it with people just because it was important to me. And anyway, where I live is in Puget Sound area, and if you go a little bit to the ocean, there's Westport, and they have fishing, charter fishing boats there. And you can go charter fishing, and you can go go for either salmon when it's in season, which now isn't in season very much, or you can go in search of bottom fish. I think fish are beautiful things, and we went out there and we used the sonar, and we found a school of fish, and then we all fished and brought a bunch up, and then we took those and we were going to use them for bait to get a bigger fish and that kind of stuff. It was the most horrific thing that I think I've ever been part of, is that the number of fish that we caught, killed, skinned, and made and then threw the rest of them away. I'll never do that again. They're much too pretty and stuff. It just, for me, was like, this is just stupid.
Yeah, I worry, Kevin, about the sheer amount of fish we take from the ocean, actually. When you think about it, we don't put any back. Like, okay, you take the small ones back, but it's not like farming where you take your crop and then you replant the next year. You take the fish and you don't put any new ones back. You don't repopulate. We just take. And I don't think that's sustainable for anything else that lives in the ocean, all the other animals that rely on fish. And that food chain, and certainly it's not sustainable for us. I mean, 70% of this planet is made up of the ocean, and we rely on it. We need it It needs us. Let's not exploit it to the point that we are.
And what we did on that boat that day, there were like 20, 22 fishermen, and each of us left with like 60 pounds of fillets. Now, I don't know about you, but 60 pounds of fillets, unless you took them home and you froze them until most of those ended up in the garbage can.
It's terrible waste, isn't it?
It's a horrible. And the fact that we didn't need to do that. We could have just spent the whole day just driving or just going in the ocean and watching the waves and the seagulls and the whales in the distance and the sea lions and all that. I would have had a much more fun just doing that and then gone to Safeway and getting a fillet.
Yeah, there's got to be I understand that completely. I don't fish either, and I think there's got to be a balance. I think that we humans have this sort of attitude that resources are there for us to use. Everything on this planet is yet there for us to use because we're at the top of the food chain. Therefore, we can lord over nature, when I think actually we sort of need to work with it. And I think that's the key.
I couldn't agree more. And the old Indian philosophy of only take what you need and kill what you need and use every bit of it. I'm far more in line with that philosophy than let's go kill everything and then throw half of it away.
That's right. Yeah.
By the way, we are talking with Melody. I'm going to say it again. Actually, I'm going to have you say it. Melody
Horrill from Melbourne, Australia.
From Melbourne, Australia. And when we come back, we need to take a station break. When we come back, I want to talk about how in the world you met Jane Goodall and the most probably famous naturalist on the planet alive today. And maybe there's others, but she comes to mind for me. So when we come back, we'll be talking about that. So stay right with us.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. We've got a great guest with us here. She's written a couple of books. Go get them. The Dolphin Who Saved Me. It's a story of her relationship with a dolphin named Jock. And they taught each other a lot about life. I think that's fair to say, isn't it, Melanie, that the two of you taught each other?
I think so. I'd like to think so. He certainly was the greatest teacher that I've ever had, Kevin.
Well, and that says a lot about the teachers you've had. No, I'm kidding. Because, the thing is that he was and is he still with us, by the way?
I'm not going to tell you that because that'd be a spoiler for the book.
Okay, then very good. I'll have to. Okay.
You have to read it, mate.
Hold on. If everybody will hold on I'd probably take me about 48 hours to read it. Don't anyway go away. I'm going to read the book and then I'll come back. No, I'm kidding. But the interesting thing that happened to you that is one of those things that I can only imagine that you dreamed about, and that would be on your website. It says in 2023, Melody was approached by Dr. Jane Goodall. How did that conversation? Did she call you? It was like, hi, this is Dr. Goodall. Can you what? Who? No. How,
No.
how did that conversation go? How did she approach you?
Well, what happened was, look, I'd always been a fan of Dr. Goodall's work, and I'd met her briefly at a function in my hometown of Adelaide, South Australia, years and years ago. And when my US publishers, Greystone, asked me to figure out who I would like to write a blurb for the book, I immediately thought of Jane, but I didn't know how to contact her. So I reached out to a very old colleague of mine who I hadn't spoken to in years, because I knew that he'd done some work with the Jane Goodall Foundation. And I asked whether he had a contact, and he came back to me and he said, well, yes, he did, and that I should email her office. So that's what I did. So I emailed her office and really didn't expect a response. So I asked whether Jane would be interested in reading the manuscript and perhaps commenting on the book if she liked it. And, weeks and weeks and weeks went past and I hadn't heard back, and I thought, this is a long shot. Then suddenly I received this email from her office saying that actually she has read the manuscript and she really loves the book, and here's the blurb. I couldn't believe it. I almost fell off my chair. I could not believe it.
It's Christmas.
Well, it actually was about Christmas time. And and then I thought, well, of course I wrote back, and I was so grateful, and it was a beautiful blurb. I mean, the words she'd written were just beautiful. It brought me to tears. I just couldn't believe that she'd read my book. And then it would have been about a week later, I guess, I received an email in my inbox from this email address. And I thought, no, well, that can't be real. And so I opened it, and it was an email directly from Jane saying, dear Melody, I hope you received my blurb. I really loved your book. She said, I hope it's a bestseller. It should be. And by the way, I'm just creating a new committee, a citation committee, to work towards helping dolphins and whales who are captive at the moment, and finding ways to where they can live more natural lives post-captivity. And would you like to be involved? And I thought it was a spam email. I just couldn't, my brain couldn't compute. And I thought somebody's having
way too much fun with me.
Way too much fun. And but I responded and said, wow, how lovely that you've emailed me. And of course, immediately I said, of course, I'd love to be involved. And then she emailed me back and said, okay, that's great. Yeah, well, you're on the committee. And from that point on, it's been amazing. I'm now co-chair of the Jane Goodall Citation Committee with Koen Margot, who's an amazing Belgian ethicist. And I get to speak to people and work with people all around the world who are passionate about improving the lives of dolphins and whales. And it's remarkable. It's just remarkable.
Now, I've heard the term dolphins and whales. I haven't heard the term cetaceans.
It's a group name, I guess. It's what they are. So it incorporates dolphins and whales.
I saw a picture or a little film recently of speaking of whales, of a boat that was, it was a whale watching boat, and they were out in, I'm not sure exactly where it was. I think it was off of Southern California, and a blue whale showed up.
Wow.
Which is, and for those of you that don't know what a blue whale is, it is the largest mammal that has ever I think, been on the
Mm,
face of the earth, at least as far as I know.
mm.
And
Amazing.
it was, yeah, and the immensity of the life of the whales and how smart they are, as well as the dolphins and stuff. Does it make you feel a little smaller and less important than you might have been?
Of course. Of course. I mean, nature does that all the time, I think, puts us in a in a place. And, I think that dolphins and whales, in many ways, are ambassadors for the ocean. Most people, I think, like dolphins and whales, and most people are opposed, I think, to whaling, which I'm really dead set against. I don't think we need to do that in this time age that we're in. I think it's very cruel. And they're ambassador of the ocean. They help us connect to the ocean because we know so little about it still. And yet, when a dolphin surfaces and takes a breath, you can see that mammal and connect with it. And they're very smart, playful, and inquisitive, and live in really complex societies. And in many ways, they can be the bridge, I suppose, to help us understand more about the other things that live in the ocean as well, and the importance of protecting their home.
Is it true? And you would know, and I think it's true because I've used this before on the air. I hope it's true, because then I would hate to be a liar. But that like 90 to 95% of the oceans are still not yet explored.
I don't know the actual percentage, to be honest with you, Kevin, but I know certainly that the deepest areas are yet to be explored. I think the coastal areas, a lot of it has been, but there's so much of the ocean that hasn't been because we can't get down there, obviously. And I'm one of these people that would really like us to learn more about the ocean. I have the same passion for learning more about the ocean as we do about outer space, perhaps. I think it's important that we learn about the thing that covers 70% of the ocean surface and all of the remarkable species that must live within it that we know nothing about.
Exactly, because every now and then you'll get a picture of this thing. This thing just washed up. We don't know what it is. We've never seen anything like it before, but it just washed up. And then they have to go try and figure out what it is. By the way, I wanted to ask you, have you ever heard of something called the overview effect?
No, I haven't.
I did a little documentary or a little commentary on it. And basically what it is, a little film. Basically what it is the attitude that an astronaut has after they go into space. The overview effect is when they go up into space, they get to turn around and they see the Earth as it actually exists. And they see the oceans and the clouds and the atmosphere, but they don't see any borders, and they don't see any boundary lines, and they don't see it's clear to them that we are all one. It's the same thing like with the oceans, that we should be the oceans are 70% of the land or of the surface of the earth, and we need to be taking care of it and all the creatures located therein for our own survival, don't we?
Absolutely. Totally and absolutely couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I think it was Carl Sagan who wrote about the pale blue dot when he wrote about Earth, and that it's an amazing thing to look at this pale blue dot and realize that we're all living on this pale blue dot, and it's what we have. This is our home. There's nowhere else to go. We need each other. Everything on this planet is interconnected. We're all interconnected. We're just part of the amazing matrix of life. And so we need to respect that.
And we are the only species that I'm aware of that will arbitrarily decide that they're going to hurt somebody because they just don't like them, or they're different than they are, rather than the need of survival or whatever. So it's humans are kind of that way, aren't we? That we we don't need to do some of the things that we do to harm the environment that we're trying to save. I'm a grandfather. I got grandkids. I want them to have grandkids, and I want them to all be able to breathe. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Kevin. And I think it goes back to, humanity feeling as if we have ownership of this planet, as if we somehow, we own the resources and we own the planet when, we're actually part of the natural world. We're part of nature. We're not apart from it. So I think as soon as we realize that we are a part of it and not a part of it from it, then perhaps we'll realize that we all need one another on this planet, and that includes everything that lives in the ocean and on the land.
We have no earthly idea how smart a lot of the animals that we have around us are and stuff. And we really need to, I really think we need to do a better job of taking care of them and taking care of each other, because, we, for some reason, we get into our heads that we're a bunch of different tribes. But when you get out into space, or the majesty of being in the middle of the ocean, and you see nothing, there's no land anywhere, but it's just, it makes you realize how insignificant you are and how important this is. Because I'm telling you, tell me if you think I'm wrong, the earth is going to take care of itself. And if it means that it's got to get rid of an organism that is on the surface of the thing, which is causing a lot more problems than they're worth, I think they're going to fix that problem. What do you think?
I mean, nature has amazing regenerative powers. It will regenerate. But in the meantime, I don't want to live on a planet where there are no other species. Exactly. I can't imagine living on in a place. How lonely would that be if we were the only species on this planet? The beauty of this planet lies in its rich biodiversity and those wild places and the other beings, non-human beings that exist with us. And I'm not saying that, we shouldn't try and exist, but we need to exist in harmony with it instead of trying to manipulate and lord over it and exploit it. I think we just need to change our mindset a little. And I think that, when you live in a city, I live in a big city, I live in Melbourne, it's a big city. It's easy to become disconnected from the natural world when you're surrounded by buildings and concrete and air conditioning and stuff. So, I feel most at peace when I'm sitting on a beach looking out at the ocean, because I feel connected with everything around me then. So I think we just need to find our own ways to reconnect.
You are indeed connected to all that is when you are sitting in the ocean or sitting on the beach watching the ocean. It's like, for me, I live in the Northwest. We have some of the greatest fir trees and Douglas firs and those sorts of things.
Beautiful.
And they're just beautiful things. But and if you walk up to a large tree and just lightly touch it, you'll feel the energy within it. And you'll feel the vibration of it. It's alive. Everything around us is alive and independent. Don't you think?
I do. I totally agree. And I love trees. In fact, my latest book, which is actually my first young adult fantasy I've ever written, contains a lot of trees. I talk about trees a lot in that book. So I do love trees.
What, not just is that a cat called Q?
It is indeed.
Oh, very nice. When we come back from this break, let's talk about that for just a moment, because I assumed it was a cat. And by the way, if you decide that you don't want to, be married anymore, get a dog. They're much better anyway. They're happy.
I love all animals, Kevin.
So we need to take this break, and we'll be right back.
They have your eyes. They have your ears. They have your smile. Now all they need is a little more of your time. Make a difference in your child's life, because anyone can be a father. It takes time to be a dad.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. We're talking with Melody Horrill. And
Very good.
oh, thank you so much. I'm getting so much. and we've been talking about dolphins, and we've been talking about other stuff, but there's another book that she's got coming out that now are we at the publishers yet? I mean, are we at the editing, or where are we at with the Cat Called Q?
Cat Called Q and the Magic Globe is actually published. It was published a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, very good. And how's it doing?
Okay, I think it was.
You honestly, you won't know. You won't know for several months, probably.
No, and I went with a small indie publisher called 12 Willows Press, based in Maine, because they focus on books about the environment, and it just resonated with me. So it's a US publisher that's actually looking after this particular book.
That's really cool. A Cat Called Q and the Magic Globe is the enchanting fantasy about the importance of believing in ourselves, love it, being brave, love it, caring for the natural world, love it, and embracing our connection to it. It also serves as a reminder that magic really does exist in nature, and love can heal and restore everything. And for those that say, oh, magic isn't in nature, I would like to point you towards a butterfly.
Indeed. Magic exists everywhere in nature. You just have to look for it.
I agree.
I mean, you know, you were talking about trees a little earlier there, Kevin, and
Yes.
Trees are magical. They're amazing. You know, they communicate with one another. And, you know, there's a whole underground network of mycella, I think it's called, the mushroom fungus,
Yes.
which help the trees communicate. The earth is a living thing. And, you know, we have magnificent river red gum trees here, beautiful big trees. And, you know, these trees stand for hundreds of years. And I just can't imagine what the changes they've experienced during that time. And they're, along with the ocean, the lungs of the earth, aren't they?
They really are. Without them, there ain't no us.
That's right. Exactly right.
We tend to forget that. And, you know, it's important to recognize that our environment and our atmosphere, really, we look at it from here and we think it's forever. It's not. When you get out in space, it's a very thin blanket, if you will, around the earth, and it can be damaged in a myriad of ways very quickly, and we need to be careful. And so I get tired of the term drill, baby, drill. That just drives me crazy, because we don't need to anymore. We don't have to. There are better ways.
I've never heard that term, but it's not something that we tend to hear a lot here in Australia. But
you guys are smarter than we is up here.
But I've got to share with you that a little while ago, because I do some freelance writing, I wrote an article about how important mangrove forests and swamps are, and you know, they take up more carbon from the atmosphere than terrestrial forests. And we need to preserve these places. We need to look after them. So, you know, swamps are amazing places. Mangrove forests are amazing places. And they serve a really, really vital role in, you know, removing and storing carbon and reducing erosion of banks and all sorts of things.
And that's how nature works. And it's all designed, and it all works perfectly together when we keep our filthy hands off of it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think we just need to learn to work with it rather than against it.
Well, it's like you've never heard of the term drill, baby, drill, but it was in the national convention like 3 weeks ago that is a platform that they want to drill, baby, drill, even though the United States right now produces more oil and gas than it ever has in its entire existence, which apparently that's not enough. Where we need to concentrate more on renewables and air, and we got tons of space for us to do, electrical and all that kind of stuff, and solar and all that. It's just a matter of will.
Well, I'm not going to get into US politics with you, Kevin, because I
don't blame me. I wouldn't either.
I stay well away from, thanks. Australian politics is enough.
Well, and that's the beautiful thing about all of us. We get to have our own politics. I just would love for us to understand that there's going to come a time when change is going to be forced on us. And from my perspective, human beings don't make change until change is absolutely necessary and forced on us. And which is too bad. I wish we were a little bit more forward thinking than that. What do you think?
I think so. I think that we also need to, focus on other environmental issues, which have sort of been sidelined a little, I think, in the last few years. Things like plastics in the ocean, for instance. I don't hear nearly enough about that. Ocean debris, plastics, pollution, all of these things, land clearance, clearing land for, removing biodiversity. So these are all things that I think that really require a top billing as well. Species extinction, I can't recall what the latest rate is, but it's horrific how many species we're losing every day.
Way too high.
I think we need to look at this holistically, I think, Kevin, this and look at the environment, not just one particular aspect of the environment, but look at it holistically. And take into account those other issues that are still they're super important. So let's not forget about those.
We're capable of doing it all, I think, and we can all do it in the right way if we choose to. It's just a matter of choice. By the way, we've been talking with Melody Horrill, and I really appreciate having you on the show. You're pretty awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate being here, Kevin. It's been actually a lot of fun chatting with you this morning.
Well, that's see, and in her world, it's Tuesday morning, kids. In our world, it's Monday afternoon.
Yes, and it's a lovely Tuesday morning here in Melbourne.
By the way, how did my Monday night go?
It went really well.
I love that.
You had a great night.
Does he know that I'm like 10 hours ahead of him? Is that anyway? So I want to thank you so much for being here. You are delightful, and go to her website again, which is Melody Horrill. That's HORRILL.com, and you can get all the information. Buy the books from her, and if you want to and hire her to come speak, she can do that too.
Yeah, I'd love a trip to the US.
I'd love to give you a trip to the US.
It's about time I came back. Last time I was there was in 2010, I think it was. So it's been a long time.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being here, and you need to come back because we need some of your advice and stuff, and your good sense.
Yeah. So, thank you, Kevin. Thank you for having me. It's been a total pleasure.
The pleasure's all mine. And say hello to Jane next time you talk to her.
I will. No worries, mate.
Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin at KM